Hi, I'm Tracy Heppes with Tracy Heppes Creations based in Xenia, Ohio. And one of the things that a lot of people talk about is going to craft shows and whether it's beneficial to their business or not beneficial to their business. Personally, I enjoy doing it because that is the great way to meet all your customers, to shake the hands and kiss the babies, if you will. It's one of my favorite things to do. And in the industry, you either love it or you hate it, and I absolutely love it. And one of the great things that I do when I set up for my craft shows is I'm super organized. I really love to do the prep work, and the night before I have everything in these little art bin tubs that I put in alphabetical order, so that way when I put all my product out on the shelves or on my display pieces, if you will, I make sure that they're all in alphabetical order so that the customers can see all the different scents that I offer, and then they're able to easily find what they want when they go to the next show and when they purchase products as well. The other thing I really like to do is to make the space look like it's in a boutique. Make it look like it's super special. I really love the color rose gold, so I use rose gold and white and greenery all over the place. So all the super sparkles that I have, they're actually curtains. They're not even tablecloths, but I use them as table runners. And they're super sparkly, and everybody comes in and just thinks it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, which is ridiculous because it's literally just a curtain that's sparkly. But it brings people in and it draws people in. And then you engage them with a smile and say, "Hi, my name is Tracy. I make all the products. If you have any questions, feel free to ask." So I also make sure that when I explain what my premise is. So I really enjoy putting as little ingredients as possible in all my products. It's just one of the things that I enjoy doing because people believe that there's just too much stuff in everything that they have. Way too much stuff. And if you can't pronounce it, I don't want to put it in there. And that's one of the things that my customers like. So keep that in mind when you are selling to your customer base. What is it that they like? You have your mission. You have what you really love to do, or really want to push out to your market, I should say. But keep in mind who your customer is. Who's your customer base? How old are they? What kind of things do they like? Are they essential oil based? Are they fragrance based? Do they even know the difference between the two? So the big thing is just to know who your customers are as well, on top of all the other layerings of what are you offering? What does it look like? How is your packaging set up? Again, part of my simplisticness of it is keeping my labels as simple as possible, being in compliance because I don't want Marie Gail to yell at me, but just making sure that you have everything in order and keep everything as organized and neat as possible. You don't want to go to a craft show and see a bunch of stuff just thrown on the table because it looks like somebody just went and threw up everywhere. You want it to be nice. You want it to be neat. Think about when you go to a store. I'll just throw out Sephora out there. So everything's nice and neat and organized. It's all like in nice, neat rows, and it's all in, it may not be in alphabetical order, maybe it's in color order, but I put everything in alphabetical order because that's just my OCD nature. And that makes it easier to find, makes it easier to put away. And when I'm packing up and getting ready to go home for the day, I put it back in the order exactly how I unpacked it when I'm at the shows. Because that way, when I go back to my shop and I want to put all my inventory back where it belongs, where I kind of store it, that way I have it easily accessible to do. It just makes it a lot easier to get it all done, taken care of. Then, when I go to do my inventory and figure out what I need to make, it's all right there where it's supposed to be. It just makes it easier to do. So that's my biggest tip, is just make sure that you keep it simple, number one, but keep it looking really pretty. I find anything that draws people in visually, whether it's plants or sparkle or just something fun. Like it could just be a crazy signage that says something about your business or something about your personality. So one of the things that I like to talk to new people who want to start doing craft shows, which I talk to a lot of people. And when you go to some of these craft shows, that information is really protected. A lot of people don't want to share what they do. They are very protective of how they do their setup. But I'll tell you what I do is before I go to the event, I make sure I have enough setup time. And usually they give you, there's either some scheduled time frame. So sometimes you're like, you come here between 7:45 and 8. Most of the ones it's like 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, or the night before the event. So I usually try to plan at least 2 hours inside, I would say inside shows. Outside shows, it usually takes me about 3 hours, and that's usually just putting up the tent, especially if I don't have my helper, my 6'2" child who can just pop up the tent with one hand. It takes me a little bit longer to set up, but I usually plan for about a couple hours. I think about where I'm at and how I want the traffic to flow within my space. So when you have a 10 by 10 tent, you pretty much are limited to how you lay out. I have gone on Pinterest, I have done some Google searches to figure out what's the best layout. You really have to figure out what works for you and how you want to maneuver your space. So I usually just do 2 tables on the side with a table in the middle. That's my checkout, which will also have my signage on there. And when I go to unpack everything, I try to pack my car in a way that makes it easier to set up how I want it to lay out. One of the key things, which is probably really common sense to a lot of people, but may not be for some, think about where the sun is, because you don't want the sun beating on your lip balm and being all gooey and gross when your customer goes to buy it. Or if your lotion bars that don't have a whole lot of, solid oils in them and they get a little mushy in the sun, just keep in mind where the sun is, because that's going to be super critical so that you don't have. I'll have to tell you, I just went to a craft show and I had a candle and somebody opened it and dumped it all over the place, and I was like, oh, well, I'm glad I really like this scent because now I get to smell it for the rest of the day. But be careful where you place your product, because the sun is a huge factor, especially when you're outdoors. Indoors, obviously not a big issue, but try to keep things in a manner and move them. Don't be afraid to move. If you don't feel like your product is moving, you have your soap right here where you walk up into your booth and nobody's looking at it, because when they walk in, they go straight to here. Well, then rearrange stuff on day 2. I'm always rearranging stuff. Even when I'm putting my displays, I feel like I have a little fake plants that I put around my spot just to kind of give it a little zhuzh, if you will. And if it doesn't work where I have it, then I move it. I move it to somewhere else just to kind of keep the space fresh constantly throughout the whole weekend, or throughout even if it's just part of the day. I'm constantly changing things. I'm never 100% satisfied with it until I've done for the day, I've counted my sales, and I'm good to go. So that's one of the big things that I really enjoy doing, is going to the shows, just because, like I said, you get to meet your customers. You get to meet the people who will buy your product, and that's how you drive traffic to your website, to have other things, tell them what you're working on. You're formulating face serums, or you're starting to work on a makeup line, or you're starting to do bath bombs. You haven't done them before, but you're looking about, getting into that. So it helps draw them into you and helps them stay connected to you. Constantly keep them informed if you can. I know I use Square when I do all my inventory. I use it for selling platform. I use it for my website. So I'm constantly sending out constant communications to, like, Square marketing templates, if you will, that just says, hey, guess what I'm working on? Or follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, or follow me on whichever social media platform seems to be hip for the day, So that's kind of the basics of what I like to do when I'm setting up for these shows, and kind of coming full circle and selling my products and getting them out there. I hope you enjoyed these quick little tips that come from my heart. Please be sure to go to the HSCG website, How To Library, and check out some other tips and videos that will help you along your journey. Bye-bye.